Today I'm going to share with you our homeschooling library system that we have been using for 6 years that has served our family so well in every season of motherhood. So whether it's been the super hard survival seasons or not, this practice, the system has really helped us have an amazing education for our kids, even when my health is not that great.
Hi, I'm Jessica Jackson, and this is the new way to thrive in motherhood by leaning into who you are, what you love, your unique family situation, and personal mission to create a life that you actually want to live. I want to invite you to join me in saying no to the life of the exhausted supermom, burnout, victim thinking, being pulled in so many directions, suffering through survival mode, or being lost in motherhood, and say yes to building strong families and moving forward on our greatest goals in order to create a fulfilling life that we are excited to wake up to each day and become a soaring mother. This is the Thriving in Motherhood podcast.
If you are in that hard season right now, I would invite you to go check out the 5-step path from surviving to thriving checklist. This is a super practical guide that I created for some of my hardest seasons of motherhood to help me and you know where to focus our time, energy, and intention when things are hard and how to move along this path so that you can get back to thriving as soon as possible. So when I talk about libraries and library books, the very first thing I hear from moms is the horror story about how much money they paid on fines because of lost library books. And we have experienced that too. So before we jump into the full system about actually finding amazing books, I want to start with some of those practical things that help us not pay money and to keep our free books actually free. Okay. So first of all, we have tried loads of things over the years. We have lost books. We have paid for books. We've bought books from the library because we moved with them. Okay. So we have had worst case scenario, but here's some things that we've done in the recent years to help mitigate that. So we have moved all of our books, our personal books, upstairs to this home library that you see here. There's a full wall of books. So it separates our books from the library books. Now we do have a few books that we own, another circular bookshelf in the homeschool room downstairs that is our nonfiction books that we use for different subjects. So that does exist and it is the exception to the rule, but everything else is upstairs. Library books are downstairs. We have a small bookshelf in our homeschool room where as soon as we come in, I put library books on that shelf. Now, do they go to kids' bedrooms? Yes. Do they end up wandering around the house? Yes. But at the end of the day, when someone finds a book, we know right where it goes and it goes down there. Another thing that we do is we just have one library card for the family. Now, this is sort of annoying when it comes to checking out our books digitally, and we have talked about getting more library books for our kids so they can have more accounts like on Hoopla or Libby to listen to audiobooks that they want to. But when it comes to checking out physical books, it helps that we have one card that we're checking things out on so that we don't lose track. And I just have one space to go, the kids have one space to go, and we can all be on the same page with what books we have checked out, which books are on hold, and what we have to return. We also try and go to the library the same day every week so that I don't have to keep track of all these books and all these different due dates. It's always on Thursday or always on Friday. The books are due, so I know we need to find them, return them. And I also try and get into the habit is after we've returned books to come back home and renew any books that maybe for some reason didn't make it into the bag, and that helps to mitigate some of those fines. So that is kind of the practical side for us of not accruing fines on our library cards. But when it comes to actually checking out books from the library, especially when you're going with all of the kids, which we do, I take my kids to the library. This is kind of how we make it work well for us. So the very first thing is when I had my 3 kids, 5 and under, I discovered Charlotte Mason, and she had these principles of giving your kids a wide feast, many ideas covering loads of different subjects. And so what I would do, and what I've done and continue to do, is when I go to the library, I love to just go through and familiarize myself with all of the different sections in the children's department. So I find where the fairy tales are and the folk tales. I find where the science books are and the math books and the biographies and the world, the countries and geography and the historical books, and make a point to go around when I go to the library and pick different picture books from all of the sections. So I might try and get a book about math and try and get a couple biographies and try and get books about, a place that we haven't been to and get some folk tales from around the world. Well, I'll also go and find good picture books, ones that look amazing. I saw this tip one time that if it's got more than one on the shelf or many on the shelf, that means that it's a popular book and it's a good book. I still, peruse it and glance, but that's kind of the goal. My kids also have their own favorite spots, and they're also allowed to get books from the library. So we all go in together, and everyone can separate out and find what they're looking for and what they want, and then we can kind of gather them. I bring a really big bag, but that bag I know is not more than what we like our account. So it might be loaded to max capacity and we're barely able to get out of that library, but it holds like 30 books. And so I know that we'll probably have books at home. Our max is 50 at this library, and it helps me stay under without having to like meticulously count every single time. So some of our favorite books that we've gotten, I actually recorded a whole video on this at 5 times slow speed. So I'll like go back and like flash some of those pictures across the screen. But one of the things that I love is finding biographies, especially in the children's section, because they tell just amazing stories about people that help tell these, help our kids understand, like, you have to overcome hard things. And there are, all of the things that you might experience, there might be twists and turns and ups and downs, but it leads to somewhere. Nothing's a waste. All those experiences come with you and they're for good. And so, really trying to bring books into our home that share that. Another thing is that the science and math books at the library that I have found are fantastic. And so I feel like there's a lot of pressure to go buy Usborne books. If you want to have like a good educational experience, you want to go buy those Usborne books. But we have found phenomenal books at our library that meet those needs, and often I feel like way better than what you can get with that company. And so that's kind of been my strategy, is instead of buying more of those books, just go to the library more often. Now, another thing that I do besides walking all of the best sections and grabbing specific books from those categories is putting books on hold ahead of time. So we love Story of the World, so I'll often peruse the recommended readings from the last few chapters that we've listened to, see if I can put some of those on hold. Whatever subject my kids are really interested in right now, I'll go put tons of books on hold with them. So we've done the White House recently. One of my kids is really interested in the space station and astronauts, so we put a ton of those books on hold and found some real gems. I've got kids that love drawing books, and different craft books, so we'll get those at the library very often, at least once a week. We'll bring a new one home. One of my children loves those. And so we just, in my kids' mind and in my mind, we've kind of got this culture of, I want to learn about something. Great, let's get it from the library. I want to do something. Great, let's learn about it at the library. I want to have something. Great, let's make it. Let's learn how from the library. And so that is kind of the culture that we've really fostered in our home, and how we've been able to have a lot of amazing just learning and educational experiences no matter what, without following the curriculum, just by bringing in these fantastic resources. I don't have to worry about budgeting. And the lovely thing is that it's something where now my daughter, my oldest child, she's 10, almost 11, knows, like, hey, can I put books on hold? Yes, absolutely. And so she's starting to take that over and have some more free reign of that. And it's wonderful because we don't have to nickel and dime. Well, is this the most important thing you want right now? How much do you want to put towards it? We could just have access to this knowledge. And we've become good friends with the librarians. And, regularly when we go there, if my kids are trying to find something, I'll have them ask. Or if they want to learn how to search, we'll try and search it on the computer. But I'll be honest, I don't have patience for teaching kids to search things at the computer there. So I'm like, if you want to put something on hold, if you want to search something, we do it at home, at our computer, when I'm not trying to keep track of everybody. We also go when everyone else is at school, so we're often the only ones in the children's department, which I love because I feel like it gives my kids a little more freedom to roam and to explore and to find things that they want and to experience the library how they want. I've got some kids that love to browse, some kids that love to get a stack and just sit on the couch and flip through them, or find a table that they can sit at. And when it's just me and them and the librarian, it feels way more low stakes, and there's way less that I have to keep track of than when there's tons of other families there and lots of other kids there and just lots going on. So that's one of those perks of homeschooling that we like to take advantage of with the library. So I would love to hear your favorite picture books below if you're watching on YouTube that you guys have found that are real gems, or any other tips that you have for navigating the library. Again, these are things, whether you're homeschooling or not, these are practices that I have done since the early years with my kids. My oldest was 4 when we started doing this. And so you can take it, apply it, and tailor it how it works for you and your family. But this is probably my favorite thing. It's probably one of my favorite things that I get to do as a mom, is just really utilize the library with my kids. So I hope that you can find some joy in it yourself, or your own version of it that works for you and your personality and the things that matter to you and your family. And thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again next week.
Where you are planted, watch the blossoms grow.